So, in reinforcement, the strongest tool for changing behavior is reinforcement. Reinforcement has two qualities. It follows a behavior, and it increases the behavior in the future. Okay, again, it follows the behavior, and the likelihood of that behavior in the future increases as a result. If both qualities are present, it is reinforcement. If both qualities are not present, it is not reinforcement. And there are two types of reinforcement, positive and negative. In positive reinforcement, the behavior increases after something has been added or given to the person. In negative reinforcement, the behavior increases after something has been removed, something that person didn't like. So in both positive and negative reinforcement, the behavior increases. In positive reinforcement, something that's pleasant, that you like or enjoy, is added or gained after engaging in a specific behavior. You go to work and you get a paycheck. You put money in a vending machine and you get a soft drink. Some baby cries when they're hungry, they get a bottle. You open a cookie jar and eat your favorite chocolate chip cookie. Negative reinforcement. Something unpleasant, aversive that you dislike is removed or taken away after engaging in a specific behavior. Examples: your alarm clock goes off and you press the off button or a snooze button and the alarm sound stops. The seatbelt signal or alarm goes off when you sit in the car and you put your seatbelt on and the signal goes off. So you remove the signal. When you step outside and it's raining, you pull out your umbrella and the rain stops falling on you. So here's an example of a baby that won't stop crying. The parent gives the baby the pacifier, and the baby stops crying. This is negative reinforcement for the parent. By engaging in the behavior of giving the baby the pacifier, the parent removed the crying. Here's some examples of positive reinforcement. Alan instructs his daughter, Susie, to clean her room and gives her $1 after she is done cleaning. As a result, Susie cleans her room more often. What was the behavior? Cleaning the room. What followed the behavior? $1. Did the behavior increase? Yes. So this would be reinforcement.
No, Mr. Powers. I expect them to die.
Example 2. When Johnny's mom puts a plate of vegetables for Johnny to eat, he would cry, scream, and push the plate away and says, "I don't want to eat." Then Mom takes the plate away. As a result, every time Johnny sees vegetables, he cries, screams, and refuses to eat. What was the behavior? The crying and screaming and pushing the plate away. What followed the behavior? Mom takes the plate away. Did the behavior increase? Yes. Because every time he sees it, he screams, cries, and refuses to eat. So is this reinforcement? Yes.
No, Mr. Powers.
But notice it is negative reinforcement,
I
right?
expect them to
The behavior
die.
resulted in the mom taking the plate away.
Do you really expect them to pay?
No, Mr. Powers. I expect them to die.
In this example, Mrs. Cooper told her son Tommy to put his toys away. After he complied with her request and put his toys away, she gave him a big hug. And in the future, when asked to put his toys away, Tommy doesn't do it. So what was the behavior? Putting the toys away. What followed the behavior? Hug from mom. Did the behavior increase? No, it did not. Therefore, it is not reinforcement.
No,
This is a
Mr.
good
Powers.
illustration of the fact that even though we think something might be reinforcing, such as a hug, it doesn't mean it will be. Reinforcement is only determined by whether it actually increases the future likelihood of the behavior and comes after the behavior. Again, reinforcement is only determined by its effect on the behavior. Does it increase it? If so, and it comes after the behavior, it is reinforcement. But here, even though we thought Mrs. Cooper may have thought her hug was reinforcing, it was not, because it did not increase the future likelihood of her son putting the toys away. ABA reinforcement rules. Timing. We want to reinforce desired behavior both immediately as well as later if we can. Frequently. We want to reinforce desired behavior consistently and constantly. That doesn't mean we always have to give them M&Ms or a toy for everything they do, but we at least acknowledge that they did it by giving a thumbs up or a good job. Enthusiasm. Be genuinely appreciative of the incremental steps that person is making, even if they are small steps. Eye contact. Show your undivided attention when you reinforce. Describe. Name the desired behavior and why it is important. So you might want to say something like, "Hey, great job putting your shoes away. Now we know where they are. That's awesome." Instead of just saying, "Great job." So name the desired behavior and why it is important. Anticipation. Hype up the reinforcers, but don't use them as a threat. Don't say, "Hey, I'm going to take this away if you don't do this." Instead, just show how fun it is. Variety. Switch it up. Switch up the reinforcers that you're going to provide. Punishment. Let's talk a little bit about punishment. As a general rule, we do not do punishment, but we should talk about it. Punishment is a stimulus that follows a behavior and decreases its likelihood. As a rule, we generally do not. In much the same way as positive and negative reinforcement, there's also positive punishment and negative punishment. Positive punishment is the addition of a stimulus that decreases the future likelihood of behavior. So in the top example, the person touches a hot iron, the hand is burned. Okay, that's the addition of a burn. The frequency of the behavior decreases. That person will probably no longer touch the hot irons, right? It's positive punishment. Something was added that decreased the future likelihood of the behavior. Negative punishment is behavior that decreases because something good is lost. So here, a little girl is careless with her ice cream cone. The ice cream falls to the ground. The careless behavior, the running with the ice cream cone, will probably be decreased in the future. So it was punished because it removed the ice cream. That's negative punishment. So positive punishment is the addition of a stimulus that decreases the future likelihood of the behavior, whereas negative punishment is the removal of a stimulus that decreases the behavior in the future. There are several problems with punishment. In laboratory scenarios and in the field, punishment has been thoroughly researched and found lacking. Punishment generally does not generalize, meaning it only works in that specific situation. Punishment can have unpredictable side effects, and punishment typically reinforces the one doing the punishing. What that means is if the person is punishing, they're probably getting what they want. So maybe they're yelling at their kids to get ready for school, and the kids are getting ready faster, which then increases their yelling likelihood in the future. We want to avoid that. Because punishment can become emotionally responding for that person. They can start to emotionally respond and then only start to listen when they're being yelled at. So there's lots of reasons we don't want to do it. As a rule, we don't use it. Extinction, reinforcement, prevention, and redirection are more effective and much more ethical methods of treatment. Plus, we're teaching the person what to do, not what not to do. Remember, there may be 1,000 things you don't want that person to do. So it's best probably just to teach them a few things they should be doing. So imagine if your child is like at the movies. There's 1,000 things they could probably do that you don't want them to do. Instead, we would probably teach them something what to do, such as sit in your seat, don't talk loud, whisper, and so forth and so forth. We're teaching what to do, whereas punishment teaches what not to do, but there could be a lot of things of what not to do. So at Learning Arts, we do not spank, smack, bite, squeeze, shake, shock, scold, shout, reprimand, pinch, flick, use timeouts. Okay. Now remember, as an RBT, you will be in a patient's home. If you're not at the clinic, you will be at a patient's home. And if the patient's home, they use timeout. The parent takes the child and puts them in timeout, or takes the patient and puts them in timeout. That's their prerogative. But as an RBT, you will not be using timeout. Reinforcement is like a payoff. When you are rewarded for something, you will do it again. I put my nose into a flower and inhaled it. It smelled sweet. It is likely that I will smell more flowers. Punishment decreases behavior. If I put my nose into a diaper bucket and inhaled, it smelled yucky. It is unlikely that I will do that again. Positive reinforcement is what we do. Positive reinforcement is a proactive strategy. It focuses on the behavior we want to see, and it strengthens the good behavior. Reinforcer versus punisher. A reinforcer strengthens a response. You will get a new game for every worksheet that you get 80% on. A punisher weakens a response. No more new games until your grades are up. Likewise, a reinforcer again strengthens a response. You will get $10 every time you follow the speed limit. Punisher weakens the response. You will get a $300 speeding ticket for every time you go over the speed limit. So can you imagine if our society was set up so that every time we went the speed limit, we would actually be paid for it? I bet you more people would go the speed limit.